Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Supercoach Challenges, and today we'll be looking at a few things coming up to the buys and round 10, discussing some premiums, discussing some strategy, or going a bit further into that strategy because things have changed since the review, and we've got a few things we now have to look at. So as you can see, there are a couple red dots on here. There's one on field that's going to be off, but anyway, and it's kind of complicated things a little bit here, and it's a bit annoying. One of them's happened because maybe they we'll just get straight into it. So we've still got the hinge injury, so that's turned out to be a concussion, 1 to 2 weeks with the whole protocols, and then we got Lockie Hunter, which kind of sucks. So if you didn't see, he got hit Rosie. To be honest, it really didn't look like much was in it. Maybe Melbourne will try and fight this, which would be nice for the team. Otherwise, we're going to be probably having to do 2 trades this week, which is really unfortunate because we only have 1 more week before we could start getting those primos in. Otherwise, we're going to have to field like a Davey or something, which isn't optimal, but may have to be done. Kind of weighing up the options with what we do here. And that's something we'll look at now. And there have actually been quite a few injuries that have affected a lot of teams as well. So I thought we'd have just a quick run down the injury list. So for Adelaide, there's not much there, nothing really to look at. I mean, yeah, probably the only one that was really relevant is Hinge, which is for this team more than anything. Brisbane, so a few injuries have popped up here, which is nice for young Sharp and the people who brought him in. He might get a couple more weeks, which is good, especially with Ainsworth with that concussion. Carlton, not much here. I heard that their defenders play pretty horribly, some of them, so Chincotta might be able to get a game, hopefully. He didn't play VFL, so it's kind of hard to gauge what his stats were like for that. But hopefully he's back in. Collingwood, not much has changed here. Scrolling down Essendon, so there's obviously a bit of talk about bringing in Baldwin. I believe it's Baldwin, isn't it? Be old. So yeah, Kane Baldwin, 172k forward, playing in the backlines. He would be like quite a nice rookie, probably especially early in the year. But it just seems like he won't really keep his spot. And if you have a look at the injury list, so we look at Laverde, he's a test now, so he probably could be back. And then I think Jake Kelly's been out for 2 weeks in concussion as well, so he could probably be back as well. So that kind of, he's playing that position in the back line, and if he gets moved forward, it's going to affect his scoring. Now, if he gets picked, it'd be quite decent, because if we look at the rest of this, no, I guess Shield's nearly back, but the rest of it's like pretty long term. So, if he can keep his spot, he could be a little bit of a cash cow for us. I didn't realize Peter Wright was so close, 3 to 5. That's good for Essendon fans out there. But it'd be nice to see if Baldwin can hold his spot, because maybe some people will go on him. I'd personally probably give it a skip. I think the job security is a bit hard, and at the elevated price, it just doesn't really make the risk of Baldwin necessarily worth it, especially if, with those 2 players back, he's probably playing forward. Fremantle, nothing here, and they're winning, so you're probably going to say that they're not going to really make any changes, which sucks for people with Johnson and Sturt. Geelong, one of the longer injury lists. This stuff's crap. Teams should have to give, you can't just say short term, medium term, short term. Like, what does that mean? Because, players are just players could end up being out for a lot longer than short term. Like, how long is Dangerfield going to be short term? Is that at 1 week or another 2 to 3? It's really annoying that they let clubs make up their own decisions on how long they're going to say a player could be out for. Just tell us, like, what's it matter? Your fans should know how long a player is going to be out for. And I mean, it's probably more annoying because we need it for Supercoach, but even if they want to bloody advertise betting in the AFL and stuff like that, then they should be at least being a bit more transparent with what injuries are looking like. Gold Coast, so yeah, it's just Tuke and Weller, but it looks like even with Weller coming back, Atkins probably keeps a spot, and Took might push out Humphrey, but he's a long way away. I mean, they reckon the surgery didn't go great, so that'll be interesting. Lemons copped an injury, so maybe we could see a bit of Charlie Constable. I doubt it, but it'd be nice to see. Scrolling down, GWS, Jesus Christ, this thing is long. And that opens up space for another rookie on the bubble to continue to play that spot and through the rounds, Cameron Fleeton. Now, I thought Fleeton looked decent on the weekend. I thought he took some pretty big marks against St Kilda as like cut-off marks, but it really didn't reflect in the score. He actually went worse this week than he did the week before, which is a little bit interesting. So, yeah, I kind of... I mean, I might be one out on this, but I kind of Fleeton seemingly giving a little bit of shades of Weddle, maybe not in the same position with like security in the way the team's playing, because GWS are probably a lot better on paper with as Hawthorn than Hawthorn, but I don't know. It's just kind of like shades of that he could like grow into the position and actually score quite well. And I feel like he's one that a lot of people aren't going to go on, but will be kind of a miss for a lot of teams. So, yeah, there's probably better ones coming up next week that you want to save those rookie downgrades for. The big injury actually coming out of here was Josh Kelly with the 4-week hamstring. That really sucks for holders for him. Especially, I mean, at least he got through the game, but it's very annoying that this happened actually. And Haynes, yeah, so this is why he's probably keeping his spot well, because like Haynes and Himmelberg have both got concussion. You got to think that Fahey's going to come in this week. He had a 42 disposal game. I believe Ralston had a good game in the VFL as well. You'd think he'd be back in. So maybe we might see a few more bubble players over the buys, which is good. We've also got the mid-season draft coming up at some point. I believe Mitch Robinson is going for that. Whether he gets picked, I'm not sure. I wonder what they price him at. I think they probably boost his pricing, but yeah, could be an interesting pickup. Who could score decently, especially if he goes to a team like Hawthorn or something if he came and played. So Hawthorn, kind of the same injury list really. Giath being out still going to help Weddle because he's going to continue to get that kind of rebound role, which is good. And it looks like Reeves is on track to be available. So yeah. Interesting to see what they do with their rocks with him and what's his name? Meek. Yeah, so Melbourne hunted suspension, so that affects our team, which is annoying. And Clary, so he's a real big one that's coming with injury. 50% of teams are affected by this, and saying indefinitely, but then he's been running around that training, which is interesting. So, yeah, interesting to see what they do there. To be honest, if you haven't got him, probably just leave it and just see what happens. Because as a non-holder, I would be hoping that Clary tries to play as a non-holder. And you never wish an injury on a player, but you probably hoping he plays and then is hampered by the injury, which affects his scoring. And then maybe you can get him later on, but... yeah, if he gets through another week, it's really good for people because, you know, if you can cover round 12, then round 13 is fine, and then round 14 he doesn't play anyway, so you've got till round 15. So yeah, not too bad there. North, but yeah, this is a long list as well. LDU still 2 to 4. Not much else moving here. Sherry's actually back. Thanks, mate. Would have been a really good ruck for us at the start of the year if you can get freaking injured. 34 he was on early in that first and then did his ankle. Unbelievable, but yeah, I think Drury's come up on this as well. He's a test. Maybe that's been affecting his scoring. You'd hope he's going to get a game if you brought him in, but it could be one of those ones that gets an injury and never comes back in, which is annoying. But I guess Shields is in the concussion protocols as well. So North would be running a little bit low on players, you would be thinking. Port, they're just getting their big forwards back. Nothing much here. That's kind of exciting for Supercoach. Richmond will be interesting to see what they do dealing with the fallout of Dimmer obviously retiring, big story this week. Be very interesting to see what they do with their team and whether they just start blooding some youth or keep going with the same team. St Kilda, so a lot of long-term stuff here. I guess the only one close is Membry with concussion. Machida Owens probably 1 or 2. Hope maybe Bytel can get a game. That would be nice, but I mean, Owens misses this week, then he's back after the buys anyway. So yeah, probably one you can wait on. Same with what's going on with Sydney here. So a lot of these boys are, I mean, Paddy McCartan indefinite. Actually, the one here is Laddams with the ankle. That could mean that McAndrew's going to get an extended run. Hickey concussion test, but that seemed to happen pretty easily for him last game. So be interesting. Mills still 3 to 5 with that calf. Obviously the big injury from last week. Otherwise, yeah, it looks like who is it? Francis can continue to play down back by the looks. Matt Roberts still 5 to 7. So for people holding him, probably going to fix him up over the buys. And West Coast, Allen's been added with a test, so that's great for them. But they do look like they're getting a few back, which is good. They just got to blow up this list with West Coast. You can't do this to yourselves. Like, I just think it's been a bit interesting that they kept so many injury-prone players in. Yeah, I don't know. You're just going to move on at some point and get this rebuild happening because that was embarrassing last week. Hawthorn aren't good and you're getting belted by 130. So, yeah, it shows you a little bit off the pace. So anyway, so that was the injury list. So as you can see, we've got issues, right? So we've got 2 players out and I really didn't want to have to use 2 trades this week. And so my original thoughts was, and Cincotta could get back in, and I'd probably nearly roll the dice on Cincotta having a decent game. He plays early, so I could actually, and that's actually something I might do, is just roll the dice on Cincotta, and because he plays the first game, so we can always wait and see. We don't need anyone from Sydney and Carlton anyway, so that's good. Who do I want to play VC this week? So I think Rosie's actually could be a decent captain. I feel like Bont is the one you want, and you want a VC before him. So that could be a Tom Stewart, I think. So that seems like a good setup for us now. So Hinge is definitely missing. Hunter, I was hoping they'd maybe dispute it, but looks like they're just going to take that, which is annoying. What's his break even like? 82. Round 12, they have Alton, which would actually be decent. This week would have been decent. Oh, actually, Fremantle, I'm not so sure because they're actually showing a bit of form, so maybe it's a good game for him to miss. Carlton would be a hard game. And then they have the bye in round 14, so interesting. So I was actually thinking about a bit of bye strategy today, but in saying that, so as you know from the past video, we were thinking we were going to go straight to Lairdy, and that might not necessarily be the best move for us now with this injury, although I believe that we do need a midfielder. So the problem with the other midfielders is we've got round 12s now. I've been thinking a lot about the buys today. So let's just bring Laird in and see what this looks like. So originally, what I've been toying with as well was bringing in Witts this week because he's going to get games of the bye anyway. But I think I've kind of got this set up now how I'm going to want it. So, right. So if we actually look at our buys, we're actually quite well set. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 until we've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, probably 19, probably 20 with Drury, 21 a Cincotta play. So we got a lot. Really, is it 21? Am I miscounting? Let's just put everyone on the field and kind of read this. So this is what we expect to play. So that's there. And then Green won't play. Goulden will play. So what's that? What? Goulden's obviously bye. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 20 plus. Yeah, so 21 players might be playing, which is really good. And, I was thinking it was more of an epiphany at this point, was the fact that this is perfect for us to get rid of Wanganeen-Malira and Hunter Clark. And we're going to get them both to premiums. And that means we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 possible premiums out of 18, which I think is actually going to be really high. We might even go Ashcroft as well, actually. I think Ashcroft could probably go as well. So that'd be three out. And what I'm thinking we do is we bring in round 14 players. So I'm thinking the cadence, or the other thing we do is we bring in whoever we want from that middle round, round 13 from Gold Coast, and like if we bring in Wits. Now the issue is picking between Wits and English, because if we go Wits now, like we're going Wits, and we're saying we're going to take the scores against English. Now I don't necessarily like that when we've already got Darcy, because Darcy is like your pod ruck, because most people would have Marshall. So I'm thinking we try and do English. Now, the good thing about English is the fact that he does have the last bye, because what I'm thinking is we go heavy on round 14 players if we're going to bring in premiums in the first round. Then round 12, we bring in round 13, we bring in round 12 players. So that would be like your Steele, your Sinclair, and probably your Sicily be the three. Because Sinclair, I think, did show quite good gameplay in that other round. So if we look at gameplay, played well in that round. So if we look at round 13, what we want to do is look at round 14 by. So that would be Mitchell going, probably. So that would have been where Hunter went, but Mitchell, Warpool, and Chandler, I think, will go that round. And then round 15 will be where we get rid of Horn France. Oh, I'm kind of thinking Horn Francis could be a hold, but anyway, Baker will go, possibly Sheasel, Sampson possibly. Sampson, yeah, well, we're going to have to hold Sampson anyway. So, yeah, Sampson and maybe even Sheasel. Even Fergus Green could go at some point. Like, because what I'm thinking is we want to try and maximize those premiums playing. And so we are going to bring in round 14 players, but the way it's going to kind of cadence is that we're going to replace those players with other. So, like, we're going to bring in 3 round 14, obviously, on round 12. But then we're going to replace players as we go to then strengthen the other buy. So at round 14, we'll bring in 3 round 13 players and so on. So you're kind of replacing, because on round 14, round 15, sorry. So it would be, yeah, obviously Cincotta, Baker, those guys, Baker, Ryan, because I think the buys is where we might actually be able to, now I'm thinking about it, where we might actually be able to catch up quite a few spots, because I think a lot of teams are in trouble through there, because that is the strength of this team. There isn't the big money, what's it called, like issues. So I don't even know if we're going to really need 4 trades each round. I think we could probably not use our boosts now. Because I just don't think we're going to need 4 unless I'm looking at, maybe fixing up maybe a Roberts or a Green. Like, because Green, take his money and maybe get in, what's his name? Wardlaw, stuff like that. I think that could be a possibility next week. Just use the boost because we got them. Because trade's obviously going to be an issue as well. And if we look at what we need to do, so we need how many players we need. So let's get the full team back on. So you are going to play Chesser, there, so that's fine. And I'm gonna roll the die switching cutter through here, and then Ashcroft on. So what do we got? We got, how many spots do we need to replace? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, maybe 12. So 12 spots, right? And we got 1.6 mil. That's why we're sitting out after this week's weight. 1.6 milli. And let's say the average price is what, 600k per player. Like, we're hoping to get a few under that mark, but we'll say 600k, right? So if we're saying we're getting rid of mostly 400k players, let's say on average we're using about 200k a player, and we've got 6, so we can get 8 players in right now, which ain't great. I know, ain't the best, because we need what, 12. Is that what we're saying? 12 to 11. It's gonna be hard, right? And yeah, it's gonna be about using the money, I guess, the right way. So, and this is where now getting into those thoughts is what, thinking about whether maybe Hunter needs to go down to, say, a Bailey, what's his name? Who's the Gold Coast lad? Players I can afford. So the two choices are the Gold Coast lad Humphrey, or let's go through around. They're going Humphrey or going, who's the defender? Who's the mid defender? Is he not? He'd be 80s, wouldn't he? Oh, because he's 295. Oops, too much. Or going Atkins or something like that. Mitch Nevitt doing very well. If you got him in, you'd be very happy with the 3 round of 67. Very happy. But yeah, so it's like a decision between how do we get that extra money now. And is Bailey Humphrey the way to do it? Because we make a lot of money off Humphrey, and we get points through the buys, and he could go that last buy round. So essentially something I'm thinking about. Will Phillips had another good game. Did he get played as a sub the game before that or something? I just had a 36, which really stunted that price growth. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe we go Humphrey. It's kind of a hard one. It'd be like, why not just go Wardlaw and take 100k? Problem is if Wardlaw gets injured. That's the real problem. And the other problem is going to be trade. So we're thinking it's probably going to take, 8 trades from here. So if let's say we bring Humphrey in, right? So we got 18 trades. How many spots do we need to fill? Probably one. This is at least, because people are thinking Sheasel's now not a hold because of his position change. So 1, 2, 3. That's 3 at least. And then we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, it's only 11. Right, so that's a little bit better. And now we can get 9. So we only really need 9 trades, would leave us with 9 left. 2 up, 2 down. So probably 5 left over for injury. So it'd be very tight. And I'm thinking I want to try actually Green's probably going to go to Wardlaw. Give us another 80k, but then we've got to think about the fact that Baker, for example, is only 300. So he's going to take 300k to upgrade. And maybe we should move him to someone. Yeah, and I guess I guess in that do we include Horn Francis in that count? So 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we did include Horn Francis, who I'm kind of thinking might be a keeper. So even he might not need to go. So that means it could be 10, which is a lot more achievable. We're thinking we can get 9 in now, which is crazy. Imagine if I just could do 9 without these rules. One more round. I can go 4 next week. If I wanted, but I'm probably going to go 3. I think I'm going to want to maybe stunt that price growth a little bit. I think the Humphrey trade's quite good. I think he's going to make a bit of money. He's going to make 53k if he makes a 64 next week, which you'd think he would. Would have been better last week, obviously, but you can't think about stuff like that. Like if, it would have been better the week before that. Or instead of Humphrey, the other decision we could go with is Weddle. Weddle gives us another, 50k. But he isn't as well situated. He does have that last buy, actually, so it's actually... Oh, no, he's got the middle one. So we get an extra 50k there, which I kind of like a little bit more. But now we have to figure this out. Oh, it's not that hard. Then Chassis goes here, and Weddle goes here, because I think they've got a lot better run as well. He's going to probably make 50k for 63. Probably like the Weddle trade a little bit more. Thank you to Port Brisbane are hard, but then Gold Coast, Carlton, GWS, North Richmond. Yeah, this could be a quick 70, but then a very slow but money from there. I don't know. I have to think this one through a little bit because I think the points on field might be a little bit better from Humphrey. But in saying that, yeah, that's just a little bit of the buy. So really, like, understanding your buys is really important at the start of the year. So a lot of people like to be really back-ended, which a lot of teams are with this round 15 buy, because you can trade your way out of those issues. Like if you have a lot of rookies that are ready to be upgraded, you can trade your way out of those issues up into round 15. But if you start with a lot out in round 12, it's hard because every player you're bringing in isn't going to play. So a lot of people around 12 don't upgrade. They're generally they're not going to be upgrading. They're going to be just downgrading if they need to, fixing stuff up around the field. But yeah, it is kind of annoying. We've had to use this trade, I won't lie, because I'd rather just have run with Hunter and then use that when I needed to. But sorry, that's the way the game goes sometimes. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not locked in on Weddle yet. We'll see what happens. So let's then have a look at some of the big talking points this week as far as I think premiums. So I think we've gone through most of the rookies. There isn't much on the rookie front, like McAndrew, Wade on. And then, yeah, if you have to go one, I don't like paying 280k for Humphrey, but if your buy's really stuffed, or even Atkins, but if your buys are stuffed, then yeah, I guess go on. But yeah, obviously you have missed a bit of money. He probably does get to high 300s, maybe 400s. If he keeps going like he was, he definitely will. So yeah, it's just hard when, you've seen him go up 70k last week. But that just shows why I should have picked him last week. But I guess you're not also picking that price rise. So let's have a look. That's not what I want. I want to go to break evens. And we'll go to the premium end. Yeah, so this kind of gives us an idea of, who we're really wanting to get in now. So Butters is, looking really good. This is what a lot of us had thought he could do. He's got Richmond, such an easy kill, and then Hawthorn, another easy kill. And look at his last two scores, 121, 136. And that was when his form was really up and down. Even Bulldogs, 146. So he could be 700k in 3 weeks, and a huge pod because he's only in 8% of teams. So there you go. The hard part is he does have the last buy. So if you're already stacked for premiums on that round, then can't necessarily bring him in. The Sis has been looking very nice after that 65. He's gone 134, 134, one against a bad team, one against a good team. So that's something. And even the Bulldogs, who were a good team, he had a big score against. So Yeah, the 63, bit of a blip, but there hasn't been a defender that scored well at Optus yet. Even Stewart struggling, he got a 91. So um, that's also something to remember. So yeah, Sicily, St Kilda normally let defenders score well, so you probably want to get him in now because if he goes 120, 130, he's going up 40k, and then you're paying 600 for him, which is nearly out of the reaches, but still 30k under what he started at probably. So Moore and Goldstein, not really going to look at. Newcomb will be an interesting pick next year. I think everyone thought the breakout might come this year, and he started off a little slow. That Geelong game's a bit hard, but even since then he's been playing quite well. I mean the Fremantle one not great, but 117, 118, you can't argue with that. Warner. So I actually think Warner's a decent pod choice. So 6% of teams. The worrying thing with him is he's obviously had these 15 these floor games, which kind of keeps him out of most people's teams just because his floor has shown to be low. But if you take that out and we just look at like the games without those real floor games, which could have been affected by, like, for example, position changing, with the midfield, because Sydney have less competition in there now with Mills out. So yeah, he could be quite good. So if we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, you take those out and he's averaging 109, which is good for a mid, especially at 530k. And yeah, Sydney have 4 of the next 5 at home, or 5 of the next 7. So yeah, it could be a good time to jump on him because I think he does play or a little bit better at SCG. It does look like most of his high scores are from the SCG, so he's 137, 123, and I guess this North game is just North. But I think he could be a decent pod, but I personally don't have the balls to go on it. Matt Rao, I think we just have to skip. He's too inconsistent. You can't go on Matty Rao, so just let him be. I will never touch Degoe. I don't care because, kind of like the same issue with Warner. He goes these big scores and then he has 67, 76. Now, he's been a little bit more consistent this year, but I still don't trust it. And, the thing we don't think about with this is how good Collingwood have been playing. What happens if Collingwood start losing some games? That could drop off really quickly. So, don't want to touch that. Parker, so kind of the same as Warner, because this was a guy we were all bringing in last year at around about the same time. Look at the 3 round, 5 round, 113, 112. It's what Luke Parker does. He seems to start slow. This is what he did last year. He got to the low 480s and then bang, 116, 103, 101, and then 136 last week. Funnily enough, the 136 has aligned with Callum Mills coming out. Let's go to DFS and see if his CBAs rose at all, because that could be a pretty interesting stat to look at. Because looking for some pods, I mean, that's probably what you're kind of looking for. This is AFLW. I always do that. CBAs. Let's look at Sydney. The CBAs are quite the same. And that's probably something you do like. That's probably what I prefer maybe to Warner, is the fact that the CBAs do stay very high for Parker. Like, you know what you're getting. You're getting that high percentage CBA amount from him. Gordon's were actually quite low. I wonder what the heat map looks like. Play summary. Why did I press Supercoach? Should just Parker. Matthew Parker's still playing. I thought he was dropped. No, it's quite the same, isn't it? Let's have a look. Yeah, that's actually very much the same. So I guess, yeah, it didn't really change that much, but there are more CBAs to go around. Someone has to be getting the ball out, and Luke Parker could be that man. So yeah, just keep an eye on him. 72. I guess they do have an easier one this week as well, because Carlton aren't necessarily doing great against midfielders this year. Last year they were able to hold people a bit more. So yeah, I think that Parker could be an interesting pod option as well. Rosie, I think most people have Merritt. I am loving Zach Merritt, but I think that there's going to be a lot of point chasing this week. So I got him in my main team, 162, you beauty, take that. But West Coast could tag this week. I think it's a real big thing that probably will happen because they don't have anyone else. But yeah, Essendon do have quite a tasty run. They got West Coast North twice. But both these teams have shown they tagged. So I don't know if they're the easiest for midfielders. More like your big forwards that are going to get the big scores. So yeah, unsure. Or even your rebounding defenders. Because even if you look at Hawthorn, the big scorers against West Coast were like Sicily, Weddle, even James Mitchell did quite well. But I guess Connor Nash played well. But like Will Day got tagged. So, they do seem to put work into a midfielder. So that's probably merit. Sam Doherty has now become a pod because of that injury, and his 3-rounder's nice. But I just don't like Carlton. Is the low price though, so a little bit of the risk is priced out. But I just don't like the way that Carlton are playing him, and most of their players just don't seem settled. Bolton. So what's Bolton's 3? Bolton's 3 rounds, 127. And you know what? New coach could mean he gets even more midfield time. Let's have a look at this. Let's see if there was any change like in this 3 round. Let's go this. All right, this might be another long one, but you know what? We like a long video. I know I like a long video, like watching them, listening to them. So Bolton has gone up to 75 CBAs last week, 75%, which is very nice. 54. Do Richmond have many easy kills coming up? I don't think so. GWS, not bad. Fremantle could be not bad. St Kilda's not bad. Then Brisbane, I don't really like, but Sydney, West Coast, Hawthorn, Melbourne. Not a bad run. Like even after this round 16, could be an option. He is actually a very interesting, could be a potential Butters. Like if he gets the midfield time, look at that 3 round of 127 would definitely have to rival Butters, surely. Was 149. Jesus, okay, maybe not that much. Maybe his 5 round. Jesus, if you got him in at, where'd you get him in? If you got him in at this round, 5 low, you're very happy. Jesus, 146, 94, 96, 120. Jesus Christ. Butters. Why did you have to scare everyone off with injuries? Bailey Smith is actually a nice little pod as well. So with Treloar out, probably going to get more pods, more CBAs. Let's have a look at that. Western Bulldogs. I definitely think it did go up. So Adam Treloar goes out, and yeah, Bailey Smith went to 87 and then 75. As a mid forward, you do like that. And at 528k definitely has room to grow that price as a little bit of a cheap pod option. Bulldogs got Gold Coast. Geelong's not great, neither is Port, but then North Fremantle could be good. Collingwood are obviously good, but they do seem to be decent to score against. So this run here is actually quite nice from 17 to 23. So he's also another nice pod. I think a lot of people might start chasing points on Sinclair, but they do have a really nice run as well. So can't really argue with that back end of games. Tim Kelly would stay away, West Coast. Lockie Neal, kind of the forgotten guy. He's still in 20% of teams, but that 100 That 103 round, 5 round kind of says it all with Lockie Neal at the moment. Just not what he used to be. Got a lot more help in there, which is kind of taking the ball away from him. And yeah, kind of one you might want to stay away from a little bit. Jack Steele, I will probably be targeting Jack Steele personally because of that back end. So after his bye, I think will be when I look at it because his break even's 86. So even if he scores like a 130, 140 this week, it's probably only going to go up like 20, 30K. 560 is pretty good for him. So, obviously got room to go over the 71. And, that 71 is scored with injury. Sorry, like the 71K, so like the 603K or whatever, he did that scoring with an injury, which he seems to have kind of worked out now. So that's quite nice. And then getting up into the higher break evens now, McRae, I'd be staying away from. Libba, actually really like as a pot option. He's just been playing so well. 3 round of 122, 5 round of 121. You can't argue with that. Like, as we were saying last week, he seems to go 141, 101, 140, 100, and he's broken that 100, 140 scheme with a 141, 126. And he's got the same run as Bailey, so it could be quite good. And then we kind of get to the higher break evens where you can kind of wait. But I do like getting led in. So, been a bit of a longer video tonight, but I kind of did want to go through those premiums in a bit more depth, based on break evens and who you really need to target, and kind of discuss the injuries and how they're affecting things. Like, there's a lot of things we kind of have to think about with, if you have Clary or if you have Kelly. So, Clary possibly out for 4 weeks, even more, or possibly back this week. The thing is that, at the 660K, is it worth, because money is tight, you could go down to, say, Jack Steele, make 130K, and then use that 130K to help upgrade someone else. Like, these are the things we're thinking of. The problem is that Clary is going to be very hard to get back, and especially if he's fit, he's the guy you want in your team. And it's kind of interesting how this season is shaped out. Like, there's been so many injuries. It's been absolute mayhem. Even suspensions. Like, if it's not injuries, you're getting suspended for a sling tackle or a bump or something. Like, it's just really hard to navigate. And I think that the boosts have made people complacent. And we're going to see a lot of, in the back end, we're going to see suspensions not being able to be covered with players. People running out of trades. People running out of money. And I think that's where the ranking is going to shape itself a little bit. And I think that's why it is going to be very important that we kind of shape this team quite well. I mean, even though we're going Weddle here, I'm still not totally taking out the idea of even bringing in Fleeton, because it pushes our money up to 1.9. We can kind of loop through Fleeton and Chesser, I believe. Yep. Because, we can loop Fleeton, and then if he does decent, keep his score. So that's kind of something to think about as well. And even, looping Chincotta, and just keeping Hunter. All of these decisions, all of these things to look at. I mean, I'd probably rather make 300K because I think, like, at the base, because what we're thinking to upgrade Hunter would have been 200K, you wanted to make 200K off the downgrade, because then that saves you a pick later on, or like a trade up later on by boosting the salary. So that's something for me to keep in mind as well. But the buys are coming up. You got to be prepared. If you're round 12, round 14, round 15 is looking bad, think about these Gold Coast boys, because I know they are elevated, but it's the points on field that are going to matter throughout the buys. And, they probably get to 400K, making it easy to upgrade them. And a little bit of a easier pill to swallow. So something to think about. But that's all from me today. Thank you for watching. If you got all the way to the end, kudos to you. I doubt many get to the end because I tend to ramble a bit, but that is the aim of the game of Supercoach, is kind of talking this stuff out and kind of figuring out what you want to do. If I can ask you to like and subscribe, that'd be great. Obviously, free for you to do, really helps us out, really makes us feel like there's people watching, and that are taking the information we're giving them and getting something out of it, I should say. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.